So this video, this is the Tesla coil. This video is your wonderful human Tesla coil body. So what you're seeing is sound that is being produced by implosion rather than expansion of space. When sound moves, think of it as in spheres, and if they're expanding, they would go from the source of void, right? Super high frequencies that we can't see, and then they expand out and become light, and then right here, and then they expand out further and become infrared, heat. And they continue expanding and they become sound, eventually audible to our ears after they cross through the supersonic barrier into our hearing range. So imagine for a moment that sound coming in the opposite direction, from void to resonance to heat to light and out of existence, right? Back into the 0 point, which is what Nikola Tesla was talking about. Now, when I say your human body, the Tesla coil, I love this song, by the way. What I mean by that is there are a few constituent parts of the Tesla coil. There is the energy source, that unlimited energy that you're breathing in every moment of every day. There is a transformer which takes large windings and runs them by very small windings, and as you get a huge amount of magnetism through large wires pushing through a large number of windings of small wires, you get a very large voltage increase, right? It's the currency or the speed at which it's pushed. So that's how your lungs operate. They pull in something with a very large amount of charge and they concentrate it into the blood using iron, which is in the hemoglobin. So iron is magnetic. Oxygen is a charged particle, so that means it has an excess of a magnetic field or electrons, which sticks it to iron just like you would expect. And iron attached to a magnetic field becomes magnetic itself. So you have oxygen moving into your lungs, and that's the transformer. The next step after that would be the capacitor, which is the blood itself. So as the air goes in your lungs, that's the energy going through the transformer. It's absorbed into a high value capacitor. Water with electrolytes is a liquid superconductor of sound and electromagnetism. So both electricity, light, and sound travel through water very, very easily. So that is your capacitor. The spark gap, your heart, controls how often that gap is closing. Now that is actually a frequency generator, meaning it's a computer that's fluctuating how often or how close together the spark gap. It's a digital spark gap essentially. But the analog Tesla coils, like your heart, is a specific distance. It takes a certain amount of charge, 10,000 volts, to breach 1 inch of space, which then pumps all of that energy across the gap, and it goes into a primary coil. It's a large coil that would be your root chakra in your body, and then it has a secondary coil, which is essentially your spine, and then it has a toroidal field at the top, which is where all of the energy is pulled into. Now, if you look at what's happening in a Wardenclyffe tower, you can see that you have the grounding plate, right, goes straight through, and then it hits water, and then the water carries the charge across the planet, because mineralized water, again, is a liquid crystal superconductor. So that's how he was able to take energy. He was pulling it in from the ionosphere, which is, for the sake of saving time, I went ahead and cut that out. So the ionosphere is the charged particles at the top of the atmosphere and the relatively positively charged Earth. So the Earth is continuously absorbing radiation, and that's essentially what your body's doing. It's taking energy that's outside, it's pulling it inside and it's collapsing the field. So it pulses, and then that pulse collapses rapidly, right? That's what's happening. Your heart's sending out a magnetic field, and it collapses inwards. Now, because of the harmony of your heart, or the frequency, the electromagnetic frequency is extremely high, you don't pull in visible light, right? You don't pull in these bandwidths of light. You actually pull in this bandwidth of light, which is to say invisible, or consciousness. So when you're breathing, all the consciousness, the thoughts, that's that energy that's rushing into you, but it's at such a high frequency that it doesn't disturb the environment. It's at a super high frequency because it is essentially resonating with a vortex, a black hole, electromagnetic singularity at the center of your chest that's inside of your heart's cavity, that's swirling on all directions and dimensions simultaneously, because it's a liquid electromagnetic vortex. So at the center of your heart, every time your heart beats, it sends out, and then it collapses, and your consciousness, your thoughts, are what is rushing into you. And based on the harmony of your heart, right, you can pull in more energy, right? Because energy comes in love or fear. Fear is basically you have to boost your own internal integrity in order to maintain stability, which is survival of the fittest. And the inversion of that would be boosting harmony over the need of integrity, right? So it's like self-sacrifice. If you boost harmony in your environment protects you. So there's less of a need for defense. Like the people that are against their environment defend, right? They're always pushing out. And the people that are accepting their environment, they're always pulling in. But the reality is we're all doing both. It's like we expand out, we pull in. We expand out, we pull in. We expand out. And when you get it perfectly timed, when the synchronicity between expansion and compression, you get a Tesla coil. So it's the harmonics. It's expanding and compressing in a way that allows the energy that's in your environment to flow into your heart. And you can use your mind, which is subtle fluctuations or vibrational changes, right? That's the ability to control the pulse, right? The spark gap. If I make the environment very pleasant, it's almost as if I'm closing the gap, the space, to make the same amount of energy go further, right? And that's the idea. When we start coming into understanding to where we're sitting right next to each other and our hearts are this close together, it takes very little energy. And so even a weak heart can make that gap. But when we have these enormous gaps in our society where these hearts are like only very powerfully influential hearts can gap this, hundreds of thousands of volts needed. And as we come closer and closer and closer and closer and closer together, the closer we get together, the more power we experience flowing through us. And that's the idea. That's the idea of a Tesla coil, is harmonic resonance. Nikola Tesla invented it. He said everything was light in 1899. He wrote an electromagnetic theory that explained the universe exponentially better than the explanations of Albert Einstein. But because of the fact that he refused to cooperate with the established status quo, J.P. Morgan and the Rothschilds and all these people that were pursuing eugenics as the ultimate solution to the human problem, right? Rather than advancing all humans, they were afraid of if they advanced people that they were trying to destroy to protect the planet, that they would no longer be able to protect the planet because the people would be too powerful for them to eliminate. While the opposite is actually much closer to truth. If you empower every cell in the body itself maintains integrity on a cellular level, right? Like if everybody's in a state of harmony, if there's a close-knit community, if one person is getting picked on by another person, in a very close-knit community, you would have 10 people saying, hey, don't do that. And then you would be in a situation where a lot of the politics and policies that we have in place that benefit that one person would be eliminated, because there would be 10 people for every one person that was just as influential and just as powerful in the collective. because we weren't standing so far apart. We were standing closer together, so everybody's voice, everybody's heart can share energy. Because if we're touching, basically, that's unity consciousness. If it requires no energy to influence the lives of other people, that's when we're standing so close together that it's the energy in my heart. Really, it's like the energy in your heart. There's no space, there's no gap, there's no separation that requires strength to overcome. And that's when we're going to realize what human potential looks like, when we're not strangulating every single person on the planet for them to prove that they're good enough to be here. Just by breathing in the energy and understanding how much awesome power is all around you all the time. There's 100 billion watts of power passing through the atmosphere of this planet in the ionosphere every single second. Just to give you an idea, that's enough power to supply the entire world's global energy demands for a year in 90 seconds. 90 seconds. That's a lot of power. Just breathe it in. It's for you. So enjoy the information and understand that you really are that powerful, and it's just a matter of breathing it in and understanding that all that energy that's outside of you is waiting to rush inside of you. It's waiting for you to harmonize with your environment, so it has a bridge, a path, a bolt of lightning, right, that can strike the heart of you and give you the power to do exactly all the things that is in your heart to do. So I hope this helps you visualize how science and the human body they're coincidental, right? Spirituality and science are coincidental because everything in the universe is consciousness or thought moving. And science is the understanding and awareness of consciousness. So we can't separate them. They are coincidental. If you try to separate one, they both become meaningless concepts. So as we bring these things together, as we bring science and energy or spirituality into unity, and people start breathing in the power and understanding that there's a scientific phenomenon that stands behind this. You can look up quasars if you want. It's a singularity that creates a line, right? So it's like breathing in lots of stars in your heart, because that's what a quasar is. It's a black hole, an electromagnetic singularity pulling in the sun, many suns, right, over the course of a year, and it creates a line of force. And it's exactly like the theory that led to Einstein's understanding of relativity. That was the same thing that Nikola Tesla was talking about, spinning light and magnetism. And they discovered this all in the 50s, and they pretty much covered everything up because they didn't want anybody to understand the power, the energy that's all around you, everywhere, all the time. It's unavoidable. And they don't want people to understand how powerful they are, so they conceal information, because knowledge is power. And I'm more than happy to share my power with you, and I hope that you do something amazing with it. You have yourself a great day. Thanks.